What's going on, everybody? Brandon Scoop B. Robinson, senior writer at Heavy.com here, discussing something that's very important, African American Music Month. Month of June is that, and to cue us in on everything going on with African American Music Month, I brought in a special guest. It's Dyana Williams, the mother of and the co-founder of African American Music Month. What's going on, ma'am?
Brandon, what's up, B?
Nothing.
Oh,
Much.
yeah, no, a whole lot's going on. We just established that we might be related.
Yeah, somewhere between Bronx, Harlem, New Jersey, and Philadelphia. We're very much connected. Absolutely. On the Northeast.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here. Lady in Red.
Lady in Red, Stevie Wonder.
Yes. June, African American Music Month. Is a month where you're celebrating anything from rhythm, blues, to soul, to, I don't know, DMX, a lot of different things. Tell me about the foundations. Why did you find it imperative to make June that month?
So, Kenny Gamble conceived of the idea of Black Music Month. Ed Wright was the president of NATRA, the National Association of Television and Radio Artists. I was a radio personality in Philadelphia, and Kenny Gamble we were partners. We were together as a couple. We had 3 children and a grandson. So at that time, we were interested in galvanizing the Black music industry. Any and everybody who had anything to do with Black music, including consumers. And so Gamble went to Nashville, saw what was happening with the Country Music Association, which was a very strong entity, and was also impressed with Music City, Nashville. Mm-hmm. They created a whole economy based on country music. However, as many people know, it has a strong gospel and R&B foundation as well. But Gamble was interested in bringing the Black music industry executives and everybody together for us to celebrate the outstanding contributions of people working in the industry at that time, folks from the past, and upcoming generations. And the first campaign that the BMA did, the Black Music Association, was Black Music is Green, because we sell a lot of records, stream, whatever you want to call it, to the tune of billions, not millions, not thousands, not hundreds. So that was what Gamble wanted to do. So we came together, started this, and it's the 41st anniversary now. Jimmy Carter was the first American president to host an event at the White House and designate June as Black Music Month. When President Obama came into the White House, he changed it to African American Appreciation Music Month. That's too much for me to say. And as one of the co-founders, Brandon, I still call it what Kenny Gamble calls it. We call it Black Music Month because it's Black music.
No, that's real. You are the CEO of Influence Entertainment and mother of Black Music Month. 40 years.
41.
Say that again?
It's 41 now.
Yeah, excuse me.
This is the 41st anniversary. Last year was the 40th.
Where are my manners? 41. That's a big deal. And I think more than anything right now, African Americans are dealing with validation, credit, respect, and more. What makes this month different than any other months as we're celebrating African Americans or Blacks as a whole?
Well, I think the confluence of several events have taken place during June Black Music Month, which also happens to be Pride Month as well. And I salute, the LGBTQ community as well. But what has happened now with the murder, the killing before all of our eyes of George Floyd, and actually Breonna Taylor, there were like 3 incidents back to back. And I think people just said, what? Too much. So while we're celebrating the contributions of Black music, which has always been the soundtrack to our lives, not just Black folks, but everybody, because Black music is used to sell everything from deodorant to cars to soap to, I saw, what was it, something like a Ben Gay product, and they were using I Like the Way You Move. I was like, what? So Black music everywhere. But this month in particular, given the circumstances that are going on with the murders of innocent women, children, and men, it's been such an outcry that our music has become even more significant, because from the moment we were kidnapped as forced immigrants from Africa, you best believe while people were chained to one another, lying in their own feces and urine, not being fed properly, being beaten, threatened with death, they were singing, humming. They were doing whatever they could do to sustain themselves, to maintain themselves. And so Black music, very much at the core of America. It is indigenous music. It is born out of our pain and suffering, but also our love and our joy of life, our respect and appreciation for Almighty God. So I know I went around the barn, but essentially this Black Music Month different from every single one I've known in the past.
You talked about Jimmy Carter acknowledging this month, and you talked about President Obama doing something a little different. Do you remember fondly just your experiences with, if any, visiting the White House with Jimmy Carter there and or President Obama when it was celebrated?
I'm sorry, you said when I went to the White House with Jimmy Carter?
And or with President Obama, what fond memories do you have just with the conversations or some of the things that they share just about their experience with Black music?
There is a great video of Jimmy Carter welcoming Black folks to the White House. We were on the lawn. This was June 7th, 1979. It was an exciting period of time because, to our knowledge, no such event had ever taken place, bringing folks from different aspects of the music industry, journalists, radio personalities, songwriters, producers, engineers, all manner of people. And whoever was hot and current at that time, most of them were at the White House. Frankie Crocker, who was the dean of Black radio. I mean, it was an incredible event. And Jimmy Carter got up on the stage, as you know, from Georgia, and just declared June Black Music Month, and said it with great pride and appreciation, overstanding that Black music was born in this country and developed into different genres. I think of our music as a gumbo, because you've got gospel, you've got hip hop, you've got R&B, you've got American classical music, which Nina Simone referred to as, some people call it, jazz. So you had all the blues. I don't want to leave out any genres. There's so many and subgenres as we hear, like even in hip hop, you've got trap music, you've got gangster rap, you've got all these different types of ideations of the music. But that day brought a lot of, that brings back memories. And I sat with President. I was a guest of President Carter, as was everyone else, but I sat with the president and his wife and daughter. So that was pretty significant. And then when I went to the White House during the Obama administration, that was heady too. We were in the East Room when Obama and our forever First Lady, Michelle Obama, came into— Forever. They walked in. It was like, it was a moment to see something that I know my father never thought he would see in his lifetime, a Black president and a beautiful Black First Lady. And they had a big celebration. Queen Latifah was the host of the event. And that was exciting. So for me, who lobbied and worked very diligently in Congress, in the White House, to get Black music recognized from the President of the United States, as well as Congress, that was pretty heady. So those two events come to mind.
What were the hors d'oeuvres like?
Listen, the food is always great at the White House, but we know who's in the kitchen. And don't forget, our forever First Lady said that she was proud to live in a house built by Black people.
Sure.
Black people, that beautiful architectural splendor that was even burned down at one point, built by people who looked like you and me. Folks tend to forget those big details.
For sure. So I did a little research, and even though basketball is my lane, I'm not straight away from things that have to deal with people who look like me. And I happened to come across and learned that starting in September or beginning September, tentatively, there is a coronavirus going on, so we'll see what goes on. But in Nashville, Tennessee, is scheduled to be open downtown area, the National Museum of African American Music, which has a 56,000 square foot facility that will encourage visitors to discover the central role of African Americans who have played in shaping and creating all genres of American music, like we've been talking about. I heard correctly, didn't I?
Yes, you heard correctly.
Tell me more about that place, because I think it's fascinating.
I do too. I am proud to be a board member of the National Museum of African American Music, Nashville, Tennessee, across the street from the Ryman Auditorium, which was the site of the original Grand Ole Opry. So we are right in the heart of downtown Nashville. And when I tell you, I did a hard hat visit last year, brought tears to my eyes, made my heart palpitate. I mean, it was just, because this is something that has been in the works for many years. We've raised over $60 million. It is a cooperative effort on the part of the private sector, government, donors, a myriad of people who also believe and have the same vision that we do to celebrate America's indigenous music made by Black people, starting in the 1600s when we first were brought to these shores. So the museum will cover all genres, the gumbo that we are of Black music and culture from the 1600s to right now.
Sure.
We also have an auditorium. We will have lectures and symposiums, but our galleries, there will be 7 galleries that will contain artifacts as well as information about our contributions to not just American and global culture, but to American and global economy. The music industry generated approximately $20 billion, give or take a dollar or two. And we know now that the #1 genre, not just in America, but around the world, is hip hop music. And hip hop music made primarily, mostly, by Black people, because of course we've got Post Malones and Machine Gun Kellys and people who are not the originators, but the in some cases, imitators of our music and our culture. So Black music is also a big business to the tune of billions of dollars. We will document all of that in the museum. And people can go to blackmusicmuseum.org to see, to look at some of our artifacts and what the museum is going to look like. So I'm really, really proud of this endeavor.
No, it's significant. Make sure to visit the Black Museum.
And I'm inviting you now, B, to come.
I'm with it. I'm with it. As long as it's nice out. This weather is crazy, but or rather this pandemic, but I believe that things are going to start making waves in late August, early September, so that can happen. Dyana, you made reference to just this grandiose building, and as I'm hearing you talk, it takes me back to my mom and my biological father. They both are graduates of Morgan State in Baltimore. And as I'm hearing you discuss it, I'm thinking about the Blacks and Wax Museum, except there's no wax figures. It's just a lot of just rooms with different things. Anything from, I think there was like a Wade in the Water section. There was like a rhythm and blues section. And when you talk about the gumbo, it makes me think of New Orleans, but it also makes me think about kind of like subsets of that. So like, for example, Drake is Canadian, he's Jewish, he's Black, and he's a rapper, but he's also an actor. When you look at gospel music, Kirk Franklin is a gospel singer, but he samples anything from Biggie Smalls to old school gospel music to R&B. How do you decide what goes in what section? Based off of just so many people having genetically mutated, if you will, music just over time?
I love that question. Well, we have amazing curators. We're talking about some world-class curators who've worked also launching other museums. Dr. John Fleming, there's a whole host of them. They know, because we also have Dr. Portia Maltsby, who is one of the foremost ethnomusicologists in the world advising our museum curators and all of us in general. So we have some of the most brilliant, capable minds engaged in this effort to launch the museum in the fall of 2020. So they've got it. They have the history and the her story. They know, and they will show in the museum this diverse, which you just referenced. I mean, Drake was the #1 streamed artist last year. Imagine. But our museum will document, yeah, Drake, Canadian. I like the way you put it together. You said he was Jewish, Canadian, Black, and a hip hop artist. You know what?
Was also an actor. Was also an actor.
An actor. He started as an actor initially. You're right. And so, he's truly a very talented brother whose work I love. And you know, when I met him, just one of the warmest, sweetest people. I mean, he just like scooped me up. I thought I was moving to Toronto.
Let me find out you were the muse behind Kiki, Do You Love Me?
Ooh! Who told you?
I can't reveal myself. What's your favorite room in the museum?
Oh, well, since I haven't experienced, you know, we have a visual. People can go to blackmusicmuseum.org and see our galleries. I mean, and right now, June Black Music Month, we're saying it loud, we're Black and we're proud, and we are one nation under a groove. I have different things that I favor in each gallery. So that's like you asking me, which of my 3 children are my favorite? Yeah, okay, I have to kill you. Okay, so no, literally from the moment you hit the door, everywhere you go, because there's different, I'm a student of Black music and I'm still learning, and I know a lot about it because I've studied it my entire adult life. And I've been on the radio since the 70s. As a radio personality, I'm also on TV and I do entertainment. So I love different parts of Black music. And so this museum is just hard to separate which gallery, all of them. I'll just have to say all of the galleries. But after you go through it, then let's have a conversation and maybe we can do it together. And then we can say, oh, you know, that gallery, this gallery, because you do come out having one that you favor more than another. I just can't tell right now.
My stepfather is a graduate of Northwestern School of Music, and whenever he would hear things, particularly in hip hop, he would always let me know where that sample came from. And when the video game NBA Jam came out, I then became familiar with George Clinton. You hear him sampled in so many different rap songs today. You hear him in P-Funk. You hear so many things just that P-Funk has birthed or has given life to. How many genres do you think that group, George Clinton and P-Funk, actually fit? Because they've been so credited for their work.
Yeah. George Clinton himself, he's one of the architects of funk. There's several. We can't just name him. He's very well known. He's still with us, and that is a great thing. And he gave us P-Funk, and you know that is all very significant. But before him, you got to go. Who was before? You got to go before. So there was Sly and the Family Stone. Larry Graham was the bassist. So you know Larry Graham, another one. Sly. You got to look at before. So definitely George Clinton has a position in the hierarchy of contemporary music, and specifically as it relates to funk. But you know what's interesting when you say, a subgenre or genre, because our museum, I saw a statistic, I wanted to get it so I could share it with you regarding our genres. Let's see if I can find it. But let's see, is this it? 50 genres. The museum explores more than 50 genres and sub-genres of music, ranging from spirituals, gospel, blues, jazz, R&B, hip-hop, and more. So just as I mentioned hip-hop a little earlier, and I was like, we got trap, we've got conscious rap, like Tribe Called Quest, Common, yes. So, you've got different layers within it. Hip-hop is not monolithic, and it seems to be evolving. And then you've got hip-hop that merged with R&B. So you got Mary J. Blige, right? That whole movement of infused rhythm and blues with hip-hop. So, that's the beauty of our music. It's blossoming still. And from it, and all of it came, let's go back to when I mentioned the slave ships and enslavement and that transatlantic. Do you know when African people who were kidnapped were brought here, it didn't take long for slave masters to recognize that they were communicating with the drums, right? So you know what they did? They made it illegal to play the drums. They took drums away from Black people. But you know what Black people and all of our creativity and inventiveness did? We started. We used our bodies. And then when we were in the fields picking cotton, people were singing. And it wasn't just singing for joy that they were out there in the sun, in the heat, picking cotton and not being compensated for their work. But they started singing to allay their pain and their suffering and the challenges of being beaten and threatened with death and being raped and being raped. My great-great-great-grandmothers, yours more than likely, were raped. So what did we do? We invented other ways. We made banjos and we made instruments, and Black people entertained white people. They loved our music. They loved it. So they allowed the drum to come back. They allowed the percussive, but we used the drum as well to convey, and they were right, messages about insurrections and uprisings and takeovers and takedowns. So our music has variations. It has all of this splendor and beauty. It is an articulation of a people who have suffered, who have loved, who have lost, who have won. We are all of that and then some.
I like it. Before I let you get out of here, I'm curious. Who did you grow up liking or idolizing music-wise?
Very easy answer for you, B. I grew up in the, well, I'm a grown woman. I'm 66 now, I'll be 67 soon. But I grew up listening to Aretha Franklin, James Brown, Curtis Mayfield, The Impressions, Smokey Robinson, all the Motown stuff, because I was born in 1953. So by the time I became a young child, 10, 9, Motown was on a roll. So Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, still my favorite album of all time, because look at it. It was released in 1971 and it's relevant in 2020 and forever. So I listened to Motown, I heard Stax, Rufus Thomas, Carla Thomas, The Sound of Memphis. And then of course, being a New Yorker, you know, I heard the music in New York with a great fondness. So that's what I listened to growing up. A little later, I started getting into jazz and listening to American classical music and just went into the deep end of that. And then R&B. And then I went on the radio at a radio station in DC, WHUR, and we played 360 degrees of the total experience in Black music. And look how music has traveled around the planet. Bob Marley. Okay? I was playing Bob Marley. I was playing Miles Davis. It was all of that. So, yeah, that's what I grew up listening to. And, you know, even now I have eclectic taste. I love white music, too. I was a rock DJ for a period of time. So, you know, someone mentioned Fleetwood Mac to me this morning, and I just kind of got flushed because I love Stevie Nicks, you know. But I respect and appreciate the white artists who have acknowledged the Black artists that they were inspired by. I have greater regard for the Eric Claptons and the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, but I lament the fact that while they were inspired and took the vibe and feeling of the Chuck Berrys and the Bo Diddleys, those people did not get compensated quite like the white folks that admired and loved their music. So that is problematic to me. I was on a call earlier today and my good friend Nile Rodgers called. And when I told the person I was speaking to, I was like, oh my God, let me call you right back. Nile's calling me. And then when I called that person back, they were like, look, I about lost my mind when you said Nile Rodgers called. And they said he is so unsung. But here we go. This is a brother grew up where I grew up, from New York, went to high school down the street from me. Nile has produced everybody from Madonna, Duran Duran, David Bowie, gave them some of their biggest hits. I'm talking about wrote the songs, produced them, played on them. Nile Rodgers, a Black man who is still out there selling out arenas and doing his thing with Chic. So let's give love. I want people to be actionable as well during Black Music Month, because I get asked, how can I celebrate? Well, support you, support heavy.com for doing stories that celebrate the history and the people who are making the music. Celebrate you as a journalist. That's why I'm saying this is your month too. I'm celebrating you because you're documenting and reporting on the culture and the music. Stream the music, buy it, read with your children books about Black music. I have a whole section of books for my 5-year-old grandson about Black music performers that I read and share with him. There's so many ways. Buy the merch of artists. You can advocate for music education in our schools. It's been sucked out, and that's problematic. Write letters, call your congressmen, write your senators, write the school board. There's so many things that we can do. Become a member of the National Museum of African American Music in Nashville by going to blackmusicmuseum.org. Bring your family. We have memberships starting at $25 and going up. So I say, support music organizations that you care about. Write a check, donate. There's so many ways that you can celebrate June Black Music Month. And even though it's concentrated in this month, celebrate it July 1st and on.
I like it. I think I needed to know everything I need to know. I knew I felt welcome. I felt like I was on Full House or on The Cosby Show when I saw your stairs in the background. Something about seeing stairs on the couch that makes you feel welcome. I appreciate it.
You see Jimmy?
Yeah, I see him.
You see Jimi Hendrix?
Yes.
Yeah. Mark Gaines is the artist. So you like the steps?
Yeah.
Here we go. Climbing the stairway to heaven. OJ's.
There you go.
Taking the load.
Yes, ma'am. Dyana, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Brandon. I really appreciate you and Heavy.com. I read you guys. I appreciate you very much.
I value you too. We'll talk soon. Later, Gator.
See you later, alligator, in a while, chocolate child.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a great, productive, and positive day.
You too, ma'am. Take care.
All right. Stay blessed.